with the Dow falling more than 550 points. Yahoo Finance's Jared Blikre joining us now with the trading day takeaways. Jared.
Thank you. We got to talk about the 50-day moving average, continuation of the conversation we had late last week. And today it was finally a fail for certain markets. And let's take a look at the S&P 500 because, as you might remember, it has been in play. This is the S&P 500 year to date. I'm going to plug our 50-day moving average over it. And you can see, hard to see here, but we just barely broke through it today on the close. And the close is what matters here. So I'm going to dial this down to a 2-month chart, and you can see our candlesticks. So the lows of the day, not only last Friday, but the Friday before that, actually dipped below that line, but they were able to recover into the close. This is the first close we've had below that 50-day moving average since just before May 1st. So that would be in the midst of that recovery off of those scary lows that we had over in April. If we take a look at the technology sector, XLK, and I'll put lines back here, very similar situation. Just closed relatively close to the line, but underneath it nevertheless. I'll put a 2-month chart so you can see that. But then, couple of saves here. The Philly Semiconductor Index, the so-called SOX, we had it penetrated intraday, but we closed above, and NVIDIA above as well. Why do I make so much noise about this? It's because it's like the 200-day moving average. It's one of those technical analysis indicators that everybody looks at, so it can be very self-fulfilling. It generates headlines, and when you get a close like that, the first one in a long time, sometimes you see that spill over in the subsequent day. So not necessarily the next day, but I'll be watching that over this week to see if we get some downside momentum.
You're watching it. Is it time to panic?
Ooh, the Kent Brockman question of the day. I love it. No, not just yet. We got to talk about the lifeblood of a bull market. I'm not going to tell you exactly what that is. I'd rather let Caleb Silver do that. He is the editor-in-chief of...
Smart guy.
He's a very smart guy of Investopedia. We sat down with him for an episode of Stocks in Translation being released Tuesday morning early in the AM. But here's what he had to say.
We've had a pretty good run off those April 2nd or 3rd lows. Stock market was up some 30%. Lots of drum beats around overvaluation, bubbles, fragility, too much weight in one sector of the market. We've heard it all, and it's not crazy to see a little bit of a sell-off here, but a nice little healthy sector rotation. If you look at what's happening inside the market, sector rotation, of course, the lifeblood of the market.
That is a quote from Ralph Alcampora, the godfather of technical analysis, also the uncle of Jay Woods, a very good friend of the program here. So let's talk about sector rotation. What I have here are all the large cap sectors in the S&P 500 and how they've done since the beginning of the quarter. So that also coincides with the beginning of the shutdown. So there might be some interesting overlap there. Nevertheless, XLV in the pole position up 9%. That's healthcare. Then you got utilities quite a bit less, 2.7%. Then energy, tech barely in the green, kind of struggling there. S&P 500 now is down. So S&P 500 is negative this quarter. And what's not doing well? Communication services, that's mainly Meta and some of the comms, telecoms, materials, discretionary, financials. So a bunch of cyclicals not doing particularly well. Nevertheless, the lifeblood of the market is when all these other sectors step up. So right now, we've got the market still pretty close to their all-time high, so no, it is not time to panic just yet. Hope I answered your question.
You sure did. We covered stocks.
Yes.
I feel like we need a crypto check.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's bear. It's been in a bear market for a while. Crypto has not been doing well. No secret there. So let's pull up our crypto universe. Here's Bitcoin. This is quarter to date. That's interesting. Down 17%, but we want to dial this back down to an intraday where Bitcoin is down 2% over the trailing 24 hours. I've been showing this, let me do this 6-month chart there so we can plot. Here is the all-time high. And as we were saying for months, as I was saying for months in here, well, Bitcoin's in a range. Clearly, it is not in a range anymore. Maybe it's just in a bigger range, but it has broken a lot of support levels. So this is a 6-month chart. Let me show you a 2-year. There we go. And you can see now, well, we still got this trend line kind of in play here. You know, depends on how you draw it, but nevertheless, Bitcoin is threatening 90,000, kind of a big deal there. But if you're worried about Bitcoin, you got to think about some of the other crypto tokens here because they're down quite a bit more. So this is just over the last month where Bitcoin's off 14%, Ethereum's off 21%, and some of these like Solana down 28%. So there's a lot of damage being done within the ecosystem. I've said for a long time, even kind of just a few weeks ago, it looks like Bitcoin is starting to sell off. I'm a short-term bear, still a long-term bull.
You want to end here on the dollar?
Yeah, let's take a look at the dollar. Haven't done that in a while. The dollar has actually been kind of in rally mode for the last few months. But if you take a look at the year to date, you can see it's still kind of stuck in the bottom end of a trading range. So let me show you what I mean here. Here's the US dollar index, here's the year to date, and here we have risen off of these lows. Doesn't look like a lot from this chart because we've had such a big downtrend in the beginning of the year, but this is a decent sized range right here. So we came from the bottom of the range, we tested the top, and we're now a little bit off of that. I think upside is limited. I'd be surprised if the dollar is able to pop above 100, and 96 is a level to watch to the downside. Anything in between, well, I wouldn't make a big deal out of it.
All right, thank you, buddy.
You bet.
Appreciate it.